I'm going to read you a quote, and then we'll talk about it. Lamar Jackson told GQ when he was asked about his haters, I always say this, people hated Jesus, not to compare myself to Jesus, but it's like if he got hated and he was still a good person and still did follow through with his purpose, why can't I? So he didn't compare himself to Jesus, but he kind of did. But the bigger thing is this. We're going to have to reassess a word which is often misused. There's lots of words that are misused now. Right? There's expressions and phrases that are missaid. Like, I'm not going to sit here like I'm an English professor because I'm terrible at spelling, but I do know that it's a tough row to hoe. You cannot hoe a road. You hoe a row. You couldn't care less. You couldn't care less. Remember, this is important because if you could care less, that means you care. And the expression I couldn't care less means I don't care at all. That's why I couldn't care less. Right? We've actually changed, or maybe it's Gen Z has changed, the meaning of the word literal, where they've added an additional meaning where it's actually more figurative than literal. Literal is literal, figurative is figurative. But for whatever reason, we've changed that because we want to. But it's literally, when it's not literally, is figuratively, and figuratively is listed in the dictionary as the definition of figuratively is one of the definitions of literally because pop culture has misused a word enough. We've also misused this whole hater thing. What is a hater? Now, I'm guessing that in Lamar Jackson's mind, it's guys that tell him he sucks. But there's not really people that say Lamar Jackson sucks. Or there's not any that are in existence anymore that say he sucks. They may not think he's a Super Bowl champion level quarterback, maybe not a Hall of Famer, or he's a regular season quarterback, but that's analysis more than hatred. Hatred would be one-off fan saying something stupid that doesn't make any sense. But for whatever reason, we've allowed the word hater to become synonymous with any type of negative analysis. So either we have to redefine what a hater is, or we have to stop using the word hater. Because to say Lamar Jackson, and as great as he is in the regular season, he still has not shown the ability to pick apart defenses in the postseason where you have to throw more, it's colder, it's harder to run. We don't want you to run. We don't want you to get hurt. You want a more developed offense, whatever. All these things, like there is a balance there. And I would say 95% of the people who have said anything negative about Lamar throughout his career, but especially now in the NFL, it's more analysis than it is hatred. Yet we use anything that's not 100% positive be seen as hatred, and that ain't right. Jay Stu, can you think of a different way to say it? Am I the one supposed to adjust? Should we adjust how we use haters? What should we do here?
I think, it's all in the eye of the beholder. You know, how you take criticism, how you take comments. But I don't know. Yeah, distractors. What's the word? Detractors? Maybe that's...
Yeah, detractors.
But it's not even a detractor if you're just going like, hey, you know, he still doesn't see it well enough and pick apart well enough in the playoffs. Like, a doubter's fine. Yeah.
It's not even how Lamar takes it as much as it is how Lamar defenders take it. Like, you never see the reaction like you do when you hear something negative about Lamar Jackson. There's all these people on social media that just come to his defense and call you a hater. I don't know why it's him specifically, because things said about him have been said about other quarterbacks, but for whatever reason, it lands different for him or with him. I don't know why that's so, but you hear this all the time. That he has a ton of haters. It's because of the
one-off story of a wide receiver coach, and I know who the coach was, asked him if he was going to run at the combine. That's why. And people have taken that to take steps to thinking that, I guess, there's some racial undertones to it or whatever, and the whole world is racist and out to get Lamar Jackson. And so when there's any part of analysis which is negative about him, you're a racist. Like, Russell Wilson's been picked apart 10 ways but sideways. it's not because of his race. It's because he used to be on path to being a Hall of Famer, and then he got super weird, and now he's been bad. But whatever. The word hater is just such a weird thing. It's so off-putting because you're like, okay, well, I'm not a hater. I'm just trying to give some real football analysis, and yet anytime you do, you're called a hater. A hater, I think, is the football or the sports term for it's used as flippantly as racist is used. And the truth is there's very few haters and there's very few racists. I think. I don't know. Bayer, can you think of a better way? Like, why do we use the hater thing that it's become so synonymous with any sort of what could be constructive criticism or negative analysis?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just the easy way out or people just feel that their accomplishments aren't being viewed and it's only a negative storyline. Maybe that's a portion of it. It also just seems to be a lot easier just to say that. They're haters.
It's a good call. They're haters. They're haters. The other part that's interesting about Lamar is, like, he's remarkable. He's the best running quarterback ever. He's been put in good systems run, but he's so elusive. He's amazing. And he does throw a great ball downfield, and he's a better version of what he used to be. Clearly a much better pro quarterback than anybody thought. 2 MVPs. But I don't know anybody who thinks he's one of the elite actual quarterbacks in the NFL. I guess Tom Brady really likes him and likes how he does what he does. But like, if you have to go win a game and you got 80 yards to go, are you taking him or Josh Allen? Are you taking him or Pat Mahomes? Are you taking him or kind of go through some of the quarterbacks? And his skill set, you would think normally you would take him because he can run it, he can throw it. But for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out as such in the playoffs. And I think that requires some amount of analysis. And not all analysis is going to be, hey, you're awesome, it's not you. Sometimes it is you. Sometimes it is you. Are we bothered by the Jesus thing? He does specifically said not to compare myself to Jesus, but that almost feels like hey, no disrespect, something disrespectful is going to come out of it.
I mean, he said he used the Jesus thing, and I'm not offended by that, but I think that maybe where he goes a little too far is what he says next, and that he's not going to let this distract him from his purpose or whatever. So to compare Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Ravens' purpose of winning a Super Bowl to what Jesus' purpose was, I think that's where the comparison gets a little murky, no?
Yeah. Did anybody ever say that Lamar wasn't a good person? That one's weird.
That's the thing. The hate that he gets has nothing to do with him as a person or what he does for the community. It's all football related, right? Yes,
correct, completely. Because he hasn't really given us anything negative, or we don't really follow him outside of it. I get it, but I don't get it. I think I know you love to pick on Gen Zers. He's a Gen Zer, right? He is. Remember, like, before he signed his new contract, if you don't love Lamar to, $550 million a year, you don't love Lamar. Like, well, that's not actually how it works, dude. But he did get his money. And it's the mentality of, if you're not completely all in on everything I'm doing being great, you're a hater. It just wears all of us out. It's like, okay, that's a guy who doesn't actually want to get better.